For 3 years, he's been guiding strategy and growth at the largest regional OTA in Latin America. Despite challenging regional and global macroeconomic trends, a highly fragmented travel market, our next speaker forges ahead, including making a multi-million-dollar acquisition of the Chilean-based travel package brand earlier this year. Please welcome Despegar CEO Damian Scokin.
Hi, Carolina.
Hi, so good to have you here.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, so this year, Despegar is 20 years old. I have a little timeline, so we can have some of that trajectory outlined. So, 99, you started with air, and then 10 years later, you added hotels. In 2012, you were the first OTA to launch a travel app that reached 1 million downloads in a year. In 2016, you reported 50% of your traffic was mobile. In 2017, the IPO. And this year, you've been busy. So you launched a new identity. You acquired Viajes Falabella. You've reached 50 million downloads, and you're developing Despegar Passport. So tell us a little bit about that. What were the opportunities, challenges?
Well, on one hand, looking at the chart, we're very proud of what the team has been doing over these 20 years, but we're extremely excited about what lies ahead of us. And ahead of us is, obviously, we believe in consolidating the market. We have a lot of room for growth going forward, both organic and inorganically, launching new products, new features, as usual, and in particular, this loyalty program, which will be launched officially in Brazil in 3 weeks.
Wow.
Preliminary results are extremely exciting, but we will continue that trajectory, building on the strengths of our brand and adding more and more features for our clients. So there's a lot ahead of us.
About loyalty, some of our research actually showed that the consumer is, at the end of the day, not really loyal. What are you expecting from that move on Despegar Passport?
Well, certainly we are aware of some skepticism around loyalty. We believe that the Latin American consumer, in particular the Brazilian one, if you look at the Brazilian market in terms of the loyalty behavior, is very peculiar. So, as usually in our case, we are excited. We will launch, we will test and see how it works. Our preliminary results are extremely encouraging. So we believe we have not only will be providing another reason for the consumer to come back to Despegar and increase the repeat rate, which is in the end our objective,
The goal.
but also generating some real value for the consumer.
In the introduction, I mentioned that you're now the largest travel distributor in the region, even larger than traditional ones who were very dominant. Is it fair to say that now Despegar is the first-time traveler option in the region? Are you aiming for that?
Well, we believe Despegar has already been the first travel spot where people in Latin America go when they plan a travel. Keep in mind that for many years, our motto was making travel possible. And Despegar, over those 20 years that you summarize, has been providing access to travel for a lot of Latin Americans that didn't travel before. And that's by obviously providing a wide set of travel options and offering our side, but also, more importantly, providing financing opportunities, which in Latin America is so important. So the lower income segments of the population in Latin America were able to travel, many of them for the first time, through Despegar. And that has been traditionally a key factor of success for us in growing through that type of offerings.
Payments has a lot to do with that, right? So the installments, and now we were talking backstage, you've mentioned a new feature that you have that is making installments available for people who don't have credit cards?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Carolina, you're right on that. Latin American consumers have a very particular behavior toward how they finance the their day-to-day life. I mean, for Americans, it's very strange to learn that people in Latin America buy a fridge through their credit card installments, or that many people don't even have access to bank accounts on credit cards. So any additional feature we provide in terms of making easier for the consumer to get access to financing is key for us. And as you mentioned, like 4 months ago, we launched what is a very strong financing option in Brazil for people that don't have credit cards or prefer to use another means of financing, which is boleto parcelado. We are certainly the only travel agent, as far as we know, the only retail online site that provides boleto parcelado just with one click at checkout. You can provide consumer finance with one click online, and it's been extremely successful.
And that certainly connects with the strategy of being the first-time traveler.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Last time Despegar was on this stage, it was prior to the IPO.
Happy days.
Yeah, happy days, right? You have a lot more trouble now.
Yes, I go to the medical checkup every 3 months now.
Yeah. So, but it was a super successful IPO. You became the first Latin America travel unicorn, and you just released your earnings report. So, revenue steady, and you've been showing growth on that side, but there's a profit decrease. Tell us more about that. Do you think, are we going to blame Google as well? Or,
no, we're not going to blame Google for that. We can blame Google for many other reasons.
And what about Avianca's Brazil bankruptcy? Did it affect you?
Well, first of all, let me tell you that the results, we are extremely happy with the results. Those are the reflections of our strategy of aggressive growth and investing heavily on growth. Over those 20 years of Despegar history, we've seen a lot of economic cycles and market downturns in Latin America. We are going through a market downturn in Latin America, and we learned that this is the best time to invest. This is the best time to put pressure on margins, gain market share, even growing organically. And we are following that recipe. That means investing, trading off some profitability for growth. We grew more than 25% in local currency year on year in a contracting market, which makes us very happy. And we know that in such a fragmented market as Latin America is, that's the way to go through and invest in the downturn. Certainly, Avianca, Brazil affected us to a lesser extent than other competitors. And getting back to your point on Google, obviously we watch very carefully Google's evolution. We've seen the impact of SEO on our traffic, but our direct traffic is a significant larger portion than in other OTAs, and that's a reflection of the strength of the brand. We've seen some challenges on the SEO traffic, but we more than compensated it so far with optimization of SEO and also with growth in direct traffic. Keep in mind, for example, within direct, obviously, our app is part of that traffic. Nowadays, approximately 40% of our transactions are done online.
Wow.
And of that 40%, 65 are on our app. So, and that has been increasing significantly. That's a great job of our marketing team and our developers that continue building features and features on our app, which is the most downloaded app in the OTA space in Latin America.
How much is Brazil on that total revenue? How much Brazil represents to you?
Brazil represents more than 27% today, close to 30.
And air in that bundle?
Within Brazil, you mean?
Overall.
Overall, air revenues is less than 50%. It's less than 45%, I would say. Our non-air revenue has been growing significantly.
Let's talk about growth a little. I'm curious on some moves happening in our region. So the former largest distributor was CVC in the region, and they are mainly brick and mortar. They are going digital more and more each year. They bought Submarino Viagens. Now they are in the process of finalizing the acquisition of Almundo, and you were going the other way. So you acquired Viajes Falabella, which is a brick-and-mortar tour operator. Didn't it make more sense to consolidate on the online travel world? Wasn't Almundo the right deal for you?
Let's start macro. Latin America travel market is larger than north of $100 billion.
Yeah.
Despegar, we believe we are the largest player in the region, and we are still a very small fraction of that. So first of all, there's room and space for growth of everyone and different formats. Latin Americans like to buy in many different ways, not just online. 60% of that $100 billion market is still transacted offline. Is that going to go away in 1, 2, 3, 5 years? No, we do not believe so. So in terms of our view, we remain a digital OTA, but we will tap selectively on some additional markets like call center, like very small kiosks. Falabella has a significant online presence also. It has stores within stores in the Falabella retail outlets, which make them very efficient from a cost base. And integrating those stores with our platform in terms of technology is proving extremely successful. We are very happy with the results we are getting from the new approach we're providing those offline retailers. So it's not that we're going offline, we're just following, giving the client more options, our consumer more options to interact with us. As per competitors, we have a lot of respect for all of competitors. Each has its formula and trying to develop its strategy within this huge market in which we believe there's ample room for growth for everyone. And the consumer will decide.
Okay. You've mentioned consolidation. Anyone particular in mind?
No. I mean, we don't have anyone, and I wouldn't be able to tell you anyway. But
I tried anyway.
And but we believe in consolidation. That's one thing Google is making very easy for us.
All right.
It's making inorganic growth more attractive.
There's a good point to that. Then. You recently announced a partnership with Trip.com, Ctrip.
Yeah.
Is that just the first move of a larger partnership?
Yeah, we certainly hope so. We are very excited about the potential of joint opportunities within partners like Ctrip. And that reflects two things, the attractiveness of the Latin American market and the attractiveness of Despegar as a platform for other people to tap into the Latin American market. So we are very excited about how and what can we grow about that initial opportunity.
What's happening for Despegar in 2020? What are the new challenges and opportunities, and what are you investing that IPO money in?
Well, we have ahead of us, hopefully, a year of continued growth with some big projects like loyalty and some others. We will continue striving and investing heavily in packages, in providing bundles and different type of packages, which is the category that is growing the most. Will be certainly continue to increase our means of payment menu. We're very excited about financing on that front. And obviously we hope to continue growing inorganically, but that doesn't depend solely on us. It takes two to tango there, so we'll selectively be active on that front.
We have very different cultures within Latin America and the countries. How do you manage that? How do you have like local strategies? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. That's part of the peculiarities of Latin America. Many people that are not familiar with the region believe that south of Rio Grande, it's just one single market that everybody speaks the same way, buys the same way, pays the same way, and that's a recipe for failure. We know that our consumers are very particular country by country, so we have local teams that are responsible for the consistency and the commercial power of our local offering. We compete on a country by country basis. We are aware of that. So there has to be a strong balance in terms of tailoring our offer, pricing, products, means of payment, and reaping the benefits of a larger scale.
So.
And that's a continuous trade-off that we sometimes do better than other times. But we are firm believers on local execution from a commercial standpoint.
In that timeline, those 20 years, you also had an Expedia investment. How is the relationship with Expedia? How is it working for the future?
Well, our relationship with Expedia has many dimensions. As you said, they are an investor of Despegar. They have a seat on the board. They provide us with inventory outside Latin America. We provide them with our inventory in Latin America. So it's multidimensional. We have a wonderful relationships. There's a lot of value created through sharing experiences, practices, and we're extremely excited about continue growing that relationship.
Mm-hmm. What about tours and activities? You sell tours and activities.
Absolutely.
Do you see that growing in Latin America?
We see that growing a lot. Obviously, we see, as the industry as a whole, sees tremendous potential of that. And I'm not particularly happy about how we've done on that. Certainly, that's something that we should put more focus on the next couple of years, because the Latin American consumer is perhaps a little bit behind in demanding those activities, but certainly we believe there's a lot of potential there.
What's to improve in what you're doing now?
Well, obviously, sourcing is a challenge in that category. Standardizing the sourcing, being able to offer that in an intelligent way to the consumer, we need to put some more focus. The problem with Despegar, and as is the case with many travel companies, is to define exactly the focus and which opportunities we should pursue and which we should not. Mm-hmm. And activities is one that we haven't put under our focus and should be there.
And what about private accommodation? Is it going to be something that we are going to see more in the platform?
Yes, it hasn't been a focus of us. That's part of our conversations with Expedia, who is the ones providing that type of accommodations. But we decided to focus more in that type of decisions on hotels and packages, to put our efforts there.
All right. But is it coming soon to Focus? Do you think that's a market that is
changing? We will have good news along 2020.
Okay. If anybody in the audience is interested in Latin America, a lot of foreigners always mention that Latin America is a confusing place to be, and it might be even more so right now with everything that is going on in all the countries, Chile, Brazil, Bolivia, Argentina, Venezuela, and so on. So what do you recommend, and what do you see as an opportunity for a local player?
Well, as you mentioned, Latin America is a challenging environment that is currently going under some macro headwinds. As in the 20 years that Despegar existed, we've seen many times, but it will come back. Again, maybe this is not the right time to invest in Latin America, because perspective in all the larger economies, Mexico, Brazil, even the more stable ones like Chile are not particularly attractive. But we as locals, understanding those dynamics, we see those as opportunities. Someone investing, I mean, I'm not the one to give any advice, but finding local partners, I would certainly value that alternative to help navigate through those waters.
Considering the Latin American consumer and traveler, what do you think are the main trends for the upcoming years? What are we going to see more of?
Well, what we're going to see is people becoming more demanding, more sophisticated. We hope to see people buying more experiences and destination services than in the past, and hopefully buying more packages, trying to solve all their travel needs in one
place. How is that structured technology-wise?
That's a challenge. That's a challenge, and our IT team has been up to the challenge, and to be able to, for example, when you look for a flight in Despegar, which is obviously the starting point of a travel experience, now we are able to put in front of you alternatives or packages to those destinations that will sort out all your travel needs. That's on a beta testing, A/B testing as of now in a few countries, and it's proving extremely successful. So we are tracking very closely how many items per trip we sell and how many items per visitor we're able to sell. And obviously our ambition is to get that number growing. And technologically, it's not easy, but has not been easy. But the team has done a good job, and we're very excited about the new features that the team is developing.
And what about super apps? We've seen them growing in Asia. Does that make sense for Latin America as well?
Well, I get those type of questions a lot. Well, this works in Asia, what doesn't work in Latin America? This works in the US. And always my answer there is, it has to do with the mindset. Latin America is peculiar in many ways. Not only that it's a bunch of very different countries that do not necessarily compare, are exactly the same, but when you look at super apps, there are a few players trying to build those super apps. And I think they have a chance.
Say Rappi, Mercado Libre.
Mercado Libre. But Latin America has its own peculiarities. Some vertical players already well entrenched. So the super app may come out of the association of some of those big players. But it will take certainly longer, and in my perspective, may be more challenging than in other geographies.
Okay. Inspired by my colleagues here, let's do a lightning round, either or, and you have to pick one.
Okay.
So, hotels or private accommodation?
Hotels.
Full payment or installments?
Installments, usually.
Real people or AI?
There's both. Both, not either or.
Amazon or Google?
I will go with Amazon myself.
Organic growth or acquisition?
There's both. You don't have to choose.
Which comes first?
It's whatever is more attractive.
Latin American or global?
Latin American for sure.
Now it's a tough one. Bolsonaro or Fernandez?
That's a very easy one. None of them.
Yeah.
I'm an anarchist. The more I learn about Latin American politicians, I become an anarchist.
Right. Yeah, I get you. And, well, this is also a tough one because it's between you and me here. So,
it gets personal.
Messi or Neymar?
Well, in Despegar, we're very fact-based, numbers-oriented, and numbers are clear.
True.
So it's the best one. It's Messi, but the right answer is playing together. That's the best.
Well, cool. That's what we should do.
Good.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Damian, thank you very much.
Thanks to you. Thank you very much.